I promise you the following. There will be accountability within the FBI.
Good. I'm looking forward to that. Joining me now, J. Michael Waller, former CIA operative, counterintelligence expert. He's also an author. Okay, J. Michael, before we get to the accountability portion of this, why don't you, in your much more expert ways than I, talk about how bad it got at the FBI before Kash got there?
It got really bad. So our big focus was on the wokeness and the politicization and the abuses that had occurred and, rotted the FBI at the core over the years. But there's a lot more. Our counterintelligence is terrible, defending our country from foreign spies. The counterintelligence part of the FBI is one of the most corrupt of the whole bureau. They were the ones who set up Operation Crossfire Hurricane. One of their top guys was convicted working for Albanian intelligence, and he's probably a Russian spy. So it's really, really rotten inside.
Okay, well, I need you to expand a lot more than that on what you just said right there. What? How?
Yeah. Well, first, the FBI has its own real discipline problem inside. It's got a crooked mentality at the top in two of the most important pillars within: protecting our country from corrupt officials. It's politicized, it's abusive. And then protecting our country from foreign spies, Chinese spies, Russian spies, jihadist spies, you name it. It's doing a terrible job. And some of the top people, like Charles McGonigal, he was head of counterintelligence at the New York field office. That's the biggest field office of the FBI, over 1,200 people, most powerful one, apart from maybe the Washington field office. He's in prison right now. He was part of Operation Crossfire Hurricane that was spying on the Trump campaign and setting up the whole Russian collusion narrative. So he was busted only because he was taking money from Albanians. But really, if you look at his record, I would bet my salary that he was a Russian spy, and the FBI covered that up. They even didn't do what they call a damage assessment. When you have a crooked FBI agent or somebody who might have been a spy, you do a damage assessment to see what kind of damage this bad agent caused, not just the FBI itself, but the whole country. They had one person doing the damage assessment, and it was lame. And this is something that's been going on for decades. I was involved in the Robert Hansen case. This was 25 years ago. Top counterintelligence officer there in the FBI ended up being a Russian spy and was convicted of it. Died in prison a year or so ago. They didn't do it. They cut off the damage assessment team of him early because they didn't want to know the damage. So the culture of the FBI has been rotten for a whole generation or more.
Okay, so help me understand, is this just the FBI protecting the FBI? Is that basically what this comes down to? They don't want bad press. They don't want to purge this bad apple or that bad apple because then you risk prying eyes from Congress and the American people. Is it deeper than that?
It's deeper than that. The FBI is not just a fraternity where everyone's looking out for one another, and there might be reasons to defend the Bureau here or there, certainly, but the biggest crime you can commit in the FBI is not to commit treason against the United States. It's not to politicize the FBI for partisan purposes. The worst crime you can commit in the FBI is to embarrass the FBI.
Oh, jeez. When did this? Now, I realize this is many, many years in the making. I've had plenty of friends tell me that it was Barack Obama, surprise, surprise, who really put this into overdrive by placing his people throughout the Bureau. Is that true?
Yeah, he did it. He politicized it. He had the wokeness imposed on it from above, and then recruiting younger recruits from below, and then artificially promoting them through DEI. That's what the whole DEI scam was in the government. It was to artificially promote people who simply weren't promotable, let alone hireable, and putting them in charge as lawyers, as managers, as people who hire, people who do the promotions, even field special agents in charge of the field offices, the local FBI offices around the country. So you might remember not long ago there was that act of jihadist terrorism in New Orleans, and you had the top FBI person on duty at the time, the assistant special agent in charge, come out and contradict the mayor of New Orleans saying that was not an act of terrorism, when it was. This is common throughout the whole Bureau.
Good God. Okay, you
You have the top,
have written
listen, you have
extensively
the top
about.
counterintelligence officer hunting foreign spies in the Washington, D.C. field office. Her name is Sarah Linden. She took the knee for Black Lives Matter, and she got a promotion and an illegal gratuity.
Okay, why is she still there?
Uh, we don't know that she's not there. We don't know all of the things that are happening, but she's not alone. That's the problem. There hasn't been no announcement that she's not there, so we have to presume she still is.
Okay, how do we take apart the FBI? Because that's what I want.
Yeah. Well, Kash Patel promised that he would take really strong actions. He's taking some actions, he's taking some good actions, but we need to hold him to his promise. We can't beat him up over it because just him and Dan Bongino, it's a two-man hostile takeover of a 37,000 person organization. But we do need to keep demanding progress. And if we don't see that progress, as Dan Bongino himself has said, don't don't expect me to say trust me. Bongino said on X. He said, trust us by our actions, but our actions are going to take a while. So I'm cutting him a bit of slack, and I urge everybody else to, but not too much slack because the Bureau itself is going to, the way the Bureau has maintained control of every director since J. Edgar Hoover is to surround him, and they run the director instead of the director running the Bureau. That's the big danger we're up against right now.
Okay, so Kash, I don't know. Dan, I do, and I do trust him. Does he have the power to make these reforms? Or, as you just said, is the FBI itself much more powerful than the director, deputy director, and they're simply going to stop all these reforms?
Well, I trust him too. The problem is, it's just two guys. They have a huge staff. They've got a gigantic management that George W. Bush and Barack Obama put together. It's a giant, top-heavy management of real brown nosers and a lot of people of very bad character running 60-odd senior executive positions at the top of the Bureau. That thing should have gone day one, but it didn't. Only a few people were removed. So as long as they're there, you're going to have the bureaucracy just surround Dan Bongino and Kash Patel and try to be helpful to them and indispensable to them so that they won't be able to function without these bad elements around them.
What role does Congress have, or can Congress even step in here? Look, we all want Congress to, well, I shouldn't say we all. I want Congress to defund them, to do things with fangs. Doesn't seem like they're ever willing to do that, so that kind of makes us stuck, right?
It does make us stuck. Jesse, there has never been a serious congressional oversight investigation of the FBI in half a century.
Oh,
Half a century has gone by, and that was the only one in the FBI's entire history. So more than 100 years, there's only been one serious congressional investigation.
good grief. J. Michael, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.